What do free books, podcasts, art, and blogs have in common? Stay tuned to find out.
Well, come on, you need a drink, partner. Expecting trouble? I'm always expecting trouble. What do you think you're cooking around here?
Stop it now, I mean it. You're ignorant. You're acting like a child.
Welcome to the Happy Holy Hour. I'm Tyler, and I'm here with Jared. Travis is taking the night off tonight, enjoying time with his family, so we are trying our best to carry the torch without our fearless leader. I miss Travis. But today, we are actually going to take a break from our normal episode schedule and bring you some special updates and actually offer you guys some free resources that you could use to grow in your walk with the Lord. So stay tuned about those things. But first, how you doing, Jared?
Hey man, I'm doing great. It's been a good week. Yeah, I'm doing pretty great. How are you doing?
It's awesome. I feel like I've been running a marathon all week. So Sunday night, I led a worship night at our church. And we did, so as you know, like we did like a professional-ish recording and video recording of it. So I've spent all week editing those things. And I think last night at like 9 o'clock, I finally finished it all. And then I passed out, and then I went to work this morning, and I haven't had time to rest. So it's been a busy week, but it's been really good.
I just gotta say, Sunday night worship was such a blessing for me. I'm really glad that we did it, and I was able words. Really glad that I was able to do it and able to be a part of it too, which was it was an encouragement for the week.
Absolutely, man. Definitely was. It's been a challenge for me too, because I mean, those of you who have been following along with our podcast, I'm a musician, sort of. I play music, but I don't know if I'm really like a skilled musician by any means, but so this has been a big stretch for me. I mean, leading worship has been a big challenge and step for my walk as a musician. Words are hard today.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Oh, geez. Anyway, I also have another interesting life update, and I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, so I'm going to try to keep it as vague as possible. So somebody was basically fleeing from the cops. It was in the Reading Eagle, so this is public. But somebody was fleeing from the cops on 422, and they had lost control of their vehicle and hit my company's like sign out front. And this sign looks like it's stone and concrete. Like it looks solid. I'm like, this thing, if somebody hit that, rest in peace. They're not coming out of that. Well, they hit this thing and it moved like 30 feet. Like this sign moved. And so I'm baffled by this all weekend. I'm literally distracted my entire weekend. How did this sign move 30 feet? Like, wait, what happened?
That was your question?
Yeah. Well, never mind the fact that this dude got out of his car, kept running from the cops, and got hit by two separate vehicles on 422. So I hope he's okay. I'm praying for him. I actually have been praying for him. I hope he's okay. But this sign, I was dumbfounded how this thing moved. Turns out I get to work on Monday and I go to I touch it. It's styrofoam. This dude hit a like huge styrofoam sign that went flying down our yard. My questions were answered. I was like, this is amazing. It's only like 150 pounds. It was a whirlwind of a day for me. I was distracted by a lot of things, and I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that it was styrofoam and not a stone sign that this guy hit with his car. So
the strangest things happen to you, Tyler. Like how? What?
It was an interesting week. That's all I got to say.
I just have to say, like, literally the weirdest things happened with Tyler. Personal experience when we went down to Chile and we missed our flight to Dallas. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So, we get to Dallas and we had to get an Uber to a hotel that was provided by the airport. And we had gone like the whole day without eating any food. So we're hungry. What's there to eat? Right across the street from the hotel was a McDonald's. And so me, Tyler, Brad, and someone else that was with the group decided, let's walk over and see if we can get some food. We go over. The dining room is closed. Big issue.
Extra rip.
We don't have a car. So what are we going to do? How are we going to get food? So we try walking through the drive-through, and they won't serve us. They just wouldn't. It was the most frustrating thing ever. We're like, how are we supposed to get food? Couple comes over in a car, drives in the drive-through, and one of the people that was with us go up to the car and be like, hey, would you mind getting us some food? And they just looked at him. They didn't say anything, kept the windows closed, shook their heads no.
I mean, you got to keep in mind though, like we're a bunch of like white-ish Pennsylvanians in Dallas, Texas, wearing the same clothes for like 24 hours. We smell bad. We're carrying a bunch of bags, and we ask some random stranger at a McDonald's at 1 a.m. if they can go through the drive-thru for us. And I mean, of course that was weird. Although I got to finish that story off with, they did allow us to get in their car, or one of us to get in their car to get food. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, that was a weird story.
Yeah, man. Like I said, the weirdest things happen with you.
Well, I'm glad to be of service for your weird stories. They make life fun.
Yeah, they do. It's widely appreciated.
Yeah. And you know, the weird things that happen in my weeks, like signs getting pummeled 30 feet into my work's yard, you know, it just makes life extra interesting. Seriously though, I'm praying for that guy. I don't know what his name is. I don't know what his deal is, but I hope he's okay. By the time this episode's out, I'm sure I'll know more. But anyway, today we're here to give some updates about the Happy Holy Hour, and we wanted y'all to be involved in this discussion in some capacity. We're just going to work through some updates, talk about stuff, and we'll finish out today. So the first thing is, we launched our new website a few weeks ago. Ta-da. And if you've been following along, you know that we've been offering some cool resources, one of which is the Crucial Questions series by R.C. Sproul. Now, Ligonier has made this free to download by anybody, and they're e-versions of these books, but they pose some really good questions, Jared. One of the questions I saw posed by these books, first of all, there's 32 different ebooks on our site under the Crucial Questions tab on our resources page, and they all deal with questions like, why should I join a church? Or what is repentance? Or more relevant, you know, what is the relationship between church and state? That's very interesting. All of these books are like somewhere in the ballpark of like 15 to 30 pages. So they're pretty short, but they're really great. I mean, Jared, what are some questions? What are some books that you see in that list that would be interesting for you to read?
Yeah, I'm just looking at them, like going through it right now, and like there's some things that just pop out right away. Is like, how can I develop a Christian conscience? Or like, here's a heavy one. Why should I live in this world? You know, there's a lot of really good ones. What do the parables mean? Like, I mean, honestly, thinking about it, we could honestly take some of these questions and make a mini series out of it and be like, you know, thoughts of R.C. Sproul and our responses.
Yeah, really. I mean, there's some good stuff in there. You know, what is predestination? Like, I'm pretty sure, I haven't read that one yet, but I'm pretty sure that deals with some of the misconceptions of Calvinism and the doctrines of predestination. Stuff like, how should I think about money? Which is a great topic. We're actually going to have someone on our podcast in a few weeks to talk about that. How can I be right with God? Like, there's some really good stuff in here. And I recommend, if you're listening to this podcast, check it out. Go to the happyholyhour.org and visit our resources tab, and you'll find this series, but they're all there for free. It's really good. I'm excited to read these books. I have them all downloaded in Logos Bible software, which is a great software. Totally not sponsored by Logos, but dreaming. Yeah. Go for it, man.
I didn't know you could get it on Logos. I knew like you can get it on Kindle and iBook, but
Yeah, so like you actually have to go through the Logos store, but they're all free there.
nice.
Yeah, man. So we have our Crucial Questions series by Dr. R.C. Sproul, which is a great resource, great series of books to get your hands on. The next resource we want to highlight on our brand new website is actually our blogs and articles page. And we've been posting some blogs there recently that have been super fun and helpful to understanding the deeper things of the Christian faith. Like Jared, I noticed, you had sent me an article a couple weeks ago that you had picked out. It's actually an excerpt from The Pilgrim's Progress, written by John Bunyan like 500 years ago. And that book's actually really awesome. If you haven't read it, definitely take the time to read it. But Jared, what intrigued you the most to like pick this topic? The article is about backsliding. So like what made you focus on that for this blog?
Yeah, so like you said, The Pilgrim's Progress is an awesome book. I've read it multiple times. And every time I read it, there's always something that stands out in different sections in my life, depending on what walk of life I'm in at that season. And I don't know, backsliding, we had just talked about Todd White and, the conversation that we had about that, I just was thinking a lot about the fears of him possibly backsliding. Or even in my own life, like backsliding is a real thing that Christians should be aware of. And what are signs to know if you are backsliding, and what are ways to prevent it? And they literally like spells it out for you in there with biblical content. And that's one thing that I love about that book, is that it is a theologically sound book. And it is a fiction, but it's based off of themes throughout the biblical narrative. And so as you're reading through this book, you can see where he was drawing from the Bible, and what makeup it is like, it's like a chemical reaction. Like you take the Bible and then you take John Bunyan's brain and then you get Pilgrim's Progress. So it's really cool to just like go through and see that. So yeah, that's just kind of my take on it.
Dude, so you had sent me, I believe, the 4 reasons for backsliding by that's in the Pilgrim's Progress. And just after that section, there are 9 danger signals of backsliding. And I was like, that's a perfect piggyback article for that other blog post. So I took that as well and put it on our website, and I put it in the comment section of this post if you're watching on the live stream. But there's some really interesting stuff in here. What are some danger signals of backsliding? And a couple of these examples are, they shun the company of fervent Christians. That's super interesting. They begin to associate themselves with fleshly, immoral, worldly men. There's 7 more of these on here. That's some super good stuff. I know I've learned a lot just by like writing this blog post out, pulling that excerpt from the Pilgrim's Progress. There's some good stuff in here.
Yeah, totally.
And I also want to bring some attention. So we have some blogs from the Pilgrim's Progress. We should actually do an episode at some point on backsliding. That'd be really interesting to talk about.
Yeah, totally.
But I put a couple of blogs up recently that are really practical and helpful for Christians. Like, for example, we've talked a lot on this podcast about contemporary worship music and how many times that has ended up being just a big trash can fire, depending on, what artist. But, it's really easy for us to say, yeah, don't listen to this worship band or don't listen to that worship band. But it's harder to say, well, then what worship band should we listen to? So I put an article out a few weeks ago on our top 5 theologically sound worship artists, which is really cool. One of which is City of Light, and I'm not going to give you the other 4 because I want you to go read the article. But spoilers.
course.
Yeah, but there's some good stuff in there, and there's reasons why, they're worthy of your ears in terms of listening. So, yeah, man. And I also recently put a blog up, which I'm super excited about, actually, called "What is the Gospel?" And the goal for that was just to be really shareable for people to take that article and share it with their friends, because it's honestly just a really simple evaluation of what the gospel is on it from a biblical perspective, not just a cultural perspective, not, I don't want to offend anybody perspective. It's the biblical gospel. So that's an awesome article that, we worked together on to put out, which I'm stoked on.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we have that article up, because, I mean, the reality is that this podcast is centered in the gospel. And like the whole purpose that we are doing this is so that we can further the gospel. So the fact that like that was like our priority to make sure that the gospel was in our website.
Yeah. And not even just for us, like our goal is really like, we want to have these discussions and talk about these things, but ultimately we want to equip you, our listeners, to share the gospel and to have the resources that you need and the resources that you want to learn to deepen your spiritual walk with the Lord and to know the Bible better. So yeah, like although we have these things and like we're awesome, we're kind of talking about this. We're not awesome. It's awesome that God has provided these tools for us to use. We ultimately don't just want to harbor them in. We want to give them out so that you, our listeners, can take them and learn from them and share them in all these wonderful ways. And it's so easy to do that now with the online platform and digital books and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just kind of speaking about like online availability and learning and equipping, I noticed that we had put up on our website all these historical letters of like confessions of faith and the 99 Theses, and like that's a huge resource.
Yeah, I tried to find. I think I'm allowed to have all of them up. I tried to find documents that were like public domain that I could take and put up, but like, yeah, the Westminster Confession of Faith, the Heidelberg Catechism, the Canons and Decrees of the Synod of Dort, the Belgic Confession of Faith, and like you mentioned, Martin Luther's 95 Theses. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have never read Martin Luther's 95 Theses until I was like, I want to read through them and put them on our site. Like I never really read through them until then, and they're super interesting.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you've got Martin Luther's perspective of growing up in the Catholic Church and being a pope, for goodness sake. Or a priest, not a pope. And then him to like be reading through the scriptures and be like, wait a minute, this isn't right. What are we doing?
And then to have the audacity to nail them to a door of a church, like what a guy. Yeah.
What a guy.
But like,
the first time? Oh, what?
Go for it.
I was just going to say, the first time I read through that was when I was at Word of Life, and I was still very young in my faith, and I didn't really understand a whole lot. So I was just like, what the frick is all of this?
So like, if, we have these historic confessions available on our site, like Jared, what are some of the ways that, if you've read any of these things, how have they helped you in understanding your faith, and, or, why would they be important for Christians to still read today, 500 plus years later?
Yeah. I would say, like, honestly, when we have all of these resources in front of us and you read through them, it gives you a better understanding of different traditions of the church, and different people have been raised in different traditions based on a lot of these different historical artifacts. I guess you can kind of call them artifacts. They're pretty old.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like, you can understand like the historical perspective, which also helps us like understand that people have dealt with these issues before. Like when they write about baptism or when they write about like regeneration, it's like, okay, like really great minds have went to study these things and they wrote it all down for us to, learn from. And it kind of keeps us, when obviously we want the Bible to be our foundation. And like when we start thinking about theology and faith, and we kind of use these confessions as guardrails to kind of keep us on the straight and narrow, really valuable tools.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, we don't want to look at these and look at them as law because man is with flaw. Yeah, that rhymes. But they are great, like you said, guardrails. They kind of hold you or kind of guide you into the right direction. So when you read through that, it explains a little bit more of the historical context of biblical narratives.
Yeah. Like I started reading through, I think it was the Belgic Confession, which I've never heard of before 6 months ago when I started reading through, the idea of confessions, and really interesting stuff. It almost connects you, like it connects you to your spiritual forefathers in a way. Like it doesn't, it makes it seem like they've dealt with the same struggles that you've dealt with in terms of just like how you think about faith, and like their conclusions that they come up to, it like helps you understand a whole lot when it comes to theology and doctrine and even just the scriptures, because it expounds on a lot of that. And there's even been expositions written on like the Westminster Confession of Faith. I think Ligonier just released a book called This We Believe, which is a exposition of the Westminster Confession of Faith. It's like really interesting. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah. And I think it also kind of gears you in a way to study the Bible in a deeper way, because like you were saying, it kind of gets you kind of in the same mindset or in the same place and connects you with these forefathers of the modern church. And then you can take that a step further and say, okay, well, this teaches me how to properly study the Bible. And now I can go and look at, say, Paul. And now that I understand like the studying aspect of the Bible through a confession of faith or something like that, and see the main theme of it, and then I can look at Paul and say, okay, well, in what context is he doing this? Because he's doing the same thing essentially that they were doing, just with inspired word. Whereas these confessions of faith and the theses, they're not necessarily, or they're not inspired word.
Right.
So then you look at Paul and you say, okay, well, this is inspired word, but he was human and he was working out all of these ideas that were coming across from him, because he was a theological zealot, if you will. He was studying and diving into the word. And then when Jesus was revealed to him, he was like, holy cow, what's happening? I need to write this down.
Yeah, it became real.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so I had somebody message us on Instagram, I think, the other week when I posted a picture that said, hey, we have all these like historic confessions that are available to you. And I got a response that says, don't you, like, kind of with like a little snarkiness, which was always fun, but like, don't you know that the church is more than 500 years old? Like the church existed before the Reformation. It's like, yeah, absolutely. There's so many great thinkers and philosophers and theologians that came before the 1500s. But we also recognize that during the Reformation, this was a time where the true gospel was unleashed in a way. It was rediscovered. It wasn't hidden by the Catholic Church or the systems that were there. We'll move on because I think we belabored that point.
Yeah, that's all right.
We have on our website, we also have a way for you as our listener to financially support us. And we don't want to just sit here all the time telling you to give money to us. That's not what we're about. However, every financial gift that is given to us or every item that is bought in our merch store does help us with kingdom advancement, so to speak. You know, it helps us with getting the word out, getting these topics out there providing these resources to you guys. So every gift is amazing. We're so thankful for everything. We're stoked that we've been able to do what we've done so far. It's all through God. I mean, like by his grace. This is not of us. This is of him.
I was actually just having a conversation with somebody at work about that and telling them about how when we opened up that GoFundMe page and God just provided the money, literally right away.
Within hours.
Like, what? And then we like extended the goal and then that was fulfilled. Like, okay, this is obviously an open door. Like this is like wide open door.
Yeah.
So then where do we go from here? And that was just a really cool story.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's been great. And we actually have a GoFundMe open to support us for the year 2021. So if you'd like to support us that way, it's on our website. You can go there to contribute. Fun fact, Australia, as of right now, when we're recording this episode, is the only continent that we have not been streamed on. So
what?
If you know somebody in Australia, send them a link to our podcast. Well, obviously, we haven't been streamed in Antarctica, but that's because I don't think anybody lives there.
The Penguins could watch us.
The Pittsburgh Penguins. Go Flyers. Anyway.
Wow. We're about to get a whole lot of hate mail.
Yeah, honestly though, people hate the Flyers.
Yeah.
And they have every right to. Gritty is our mascot. Gritty doesn't make any sense at all. But
very true. Like, what? Why? I don't understand.
Anyway, we also have an online store where you can buy shirts, canvas wall art, fanny packs, and more. I do want a fanny pack. I'm not going to lie.
Me too.
That's all we got for our website. We don't want to belabor that too much, but we just wanted to make it known that there are resources available to you at no cost. We don't even want your email address. It's literally totally free for you. Thank you to those who have helped us do that. I know Banner of Truth has contributed content. Ligonier Ministries has contributed content. So we're super excited about that. But next big piece of news.
Should we do the drum roll?
Well, I guess I got to give the context to this before we actually say this. So COVID-19 has kind of wrecked the way that we did things. We've actually recorded more episodes virtually through basically a Skype-like platform than actually recording in person. I think we only recorded about 15 episodes in person. And then and now we're on I think this is episode 35. So we've recorded more episodes virtually, which is nuts.
That's crazy nuts, though.
And it's been kind of frustrating. However, the great news is a local church has been so generous and kind to allow us to build a studio in their church. And the cool thing about that is it's actually an old pastor's study. Mm-hmm. It's so cool. Half of the wall is bookshelf. A whole wall is bookshelf, which makes up half the room. And then the other half is window. It's a really cool space. And we're really excited to be doing our podcast there.
Isn't there something kind of cool about the building in of itself? The makeup of it? I might be making that up. But.
What do you mean? As far as the historical aspect of it?
Yeah.
It is a really old church. It's I think it's 180 years old or something like that. It's got stained glass. It's a cool space. I mean, you can tell because Jared is our electrician of our group, and he has to convert some outlets in that room in order for us to even have power. But so that's going to be fun. But it's a super old space. We're going to make it our own, though.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be great. Fun. And it's a huge blessing. We don't have to pay rent for a studio room.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, we just have to bring our own lights. I was in there last night. I was working in there last night, bringing in equipment, setting up, microphones, which I was putting the cart way in front of the horse because it got dark out. And I went to hit the light switch and realized there's no lights in that room. Literally, there's nothing in there that would produce light. So I was maybe that's why they put the big window in our studio room. But yeah, so that'll be a fun time. But we're excited to bring you guys content from there.
The funny thing is there's like 20 outlets in that room,
Yeah,
but no lights.
they're all in the same circuit. We know that.
Oh no, they are.
I can imagine. So I mean, if the church is as old as it is and that room is as old as it,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, that'll make it easier to fix, because if I just turn off one circuit, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, we're really excited about that, and we're going to bring you guys content. Follow our social media pages if you want to see some updates as far as the transforming of that room goes. I've already posted one thing. We're excited about that. But anyway, as we come to an end of our very weird episode today, we apologize for the weirdness of it.
I apologize for nothing.
Jared's very unapologetic. That's okay.
Just about our podcast.
There are 3 things that I want you to walk away with today. And number 1, please take advantage of the resources that are on our website. We've worked with Ligonier Ministries, Banner of Truth, and some others to provide, free ebooks that you can download to help you grow spiritually. And we're going to be doing giveaways at some point soon to actually give away physical books too. So that's going to be awesome. Please take advantage of those resources. It's going to help you immensely. I know it's helping me. We're kind of all in this together, which has been great. Number 2, and this is a Charles Spurgeon quote. It's visit many good books, but live in the Bible. So this bounces off our first point. We have a lot of really great resources, which is awesome. By the grace of God, He has blessed us with these pieces. We're so thankful. However, they are useless if you're not reading your Bible. We want you to build your life, build your foundation on the Word of God. So, yes, read through confessions, read through these ebooks, get your questions answered, read these blogs, but never neglect your Bible. We're passionate about that. In fact, you can find a link to the ESV Reformation Study Bible on our resources page because it's our favorite study tool. We just send you right over to Ligonier Ministries and buy it. But our Bibles that's our favorite study tool when we do this podcast. So we encourage you, never neglect your Bible. Third and finally, please pray for our ministry here and consider supporting us financially. No pressure, but you can financially support us either by donating a gift through GoFundMe or purchasing merch off of our web store. Both options are available at thehappyholyhour.org. So we really appreciate your support, whether it's by prayer, whether it's financially, or even just sharing our podcast with friends, because that's also a big deal when you do that. So first of all, to those who are already doing that, thank you. And if you're not doing that, please, 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 please. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to beg you. You put your hands up like in the begging motion or the praying motion.
So that was a thank you.
Oh,
that
thank you.
Before the yeah.
I was like,
poor timing.
I needed to verbalize what I was processing you doing. So that was what that was.
Gotcha.
Anyway, cool. Well, if there's nothing else, I think that's all we got.
I've got something.
What's up, buddy?
For our listeners, for whoever's listening to this, either live stream or on podcast in the future, I'm not going to put a date because that would be silly, but post your favorite dad joke on our page as a meme. Do it. Challenge. You won't.
Well, okay. Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, we released an episode on fatherhood and we talked about dad jokes. So that'd be a good follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that. Yeah. Send it to us, direct message us, whatever. That'd be fun.
And the winner will get we'll repost it. That'll be the winner.
To all of our fans, we will repost your dad joke. It'll be the start of something big for your meme page. So
yes.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all we got today on the Happy Holy Hour. Remember to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We thank you for that. It's really great. I know today's episode was really weird, so don't judge us on that. But be looking out in the future for some really great episodes coming up. Remember to follow us on social media. We have Facebook and Instagram. We don't do Twitter because none of us are good at Twitter, and I suck at Twitter. I made a Twitter. I talk about this all the time, but I made a Twitter and it got deactivated twice for inactivity. What? Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I tried Twittering once and I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't.
It's rough.
Pick up. Yeah.
I remember logging into my Twitter to try to see another person's tweet or something like that, and my app was like, "Yeah, you can't do this because you've been gone too long, and our relationship's over." So Twitter broke up with me because literally it was like, "Your account has been deactivated." All that to say, don't look for us on Twitter.
Do not. You won't find anything but sorrow.
Yeah.
And breakups.
You'll only find emptiness. And lastly, visit us online at thehappyholyhour.org. Remember to go check out some of those resources. But until next time, thanks for joining us today on the Happy Holy Hour.
Adios.